Hi there, I'm Pastor Cliff Gleason, and I want to thank you for tuning in today to our worship service. Here at the Laconia Seventh-day Adventist Church, we worship Jesus Christ as our Creator, our Lord, our Savior, and our coming King. And we hope that you will enjoy this service with us, that you'll be inspired by the teaching and the music and every part of our service. So sit back and enjoy, and thank you for being with us today.
Okay, boys, come this way. Pastor Scott has said that he has got a special story for us. Oh, no, put it in here. Okay, come on over. We're going to sit on this side, you're going to sit on that side. Oh, sorry. I thought I picked his up once. Okay, come on over. Sit down. Pastor Scott's going to come give us a story.
Good morning. How are you? All right, here, give me five here. Give me fives here. Come on, there you go. There you go. That was a nice one. Okay, all right. That was, I'll take a lefty five. Gonna give me five? All right. Okay, sweet pea, there you go. How many of you like to hike? Go out for walks. You like that? Just one? Seriously? Okay. Wow. Well, I, a long time ago, I grew up in a place long ways away from here. It was a place that had palm trees. And on Christmas Day, we'd get our toys and maybe a new baseball or maybe a new football. And we'd go outside in the 65-degree weather and the green grass, and we'd throw that around. And that's what Christmas was like. That's what January was like. And it was nice and warm. It was a place called Loma Linda. It's a long ways away from here. And in fact, Brian Eller, who's out in the lobby with the camera, come to find out, he and I both grew up in Southern California. I didn't know that. Or at least I'd forgotten. But anyway, we went to the same church for a while. So when I was older than you, when I was like 17, okay, how old are you? Okay, so I'm 11 years older than you. How about you? So when I was like, 13 years older than you, how old are you? So 10 years older. How old are you? Huh? 4. Okay, all right. So when I was, but anyway, I was older. I was driving a car, so yeah, I was older. But a friend and I decided we were going to go hiking in the mountains because in Loma Linda, yeah, it's got palm trees and it's about an hour from the ocean, and it's all this stuff. But right in back of Loma Linda and kind of all around it are these tall mountains, 11,000 feet. I mean, like way big high. Yeah, like way, 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 way taller than Mount Washington. I mean, they're way up there. They got snow on the top. And I had a friend named Alan, and Alan and I went for we had all sorts of adventures. We were good kids. We had our own car. I paid $300 for mine, and one of us had to push it to get it started, but we had our own car. And so it was Friday afternoon, and we decided, hey, and we drove up to 7,000 feet, and we parked our car, and we were the only one in the parking lot for some reason. And we got our backpacks on and everything, and he had a map. And this was like December, so it got dark real early. And he got out the map, and we started walking, and it got dark pretty soon. And about the time it got dark, it started snowing a lot. A lot. We were doing fine on the trail, and then the snow started coming down, and we were surprised at how fast the snow covered the whole trail. So we were walking and walking and walking, and we decided we were going to go to a place about 2 miles away that overlooked the whole valley, because when we woke up, we wanted to be looking at the whole valley, and you could see Los Angeles from there. You could see 60 miles away. It was great. So we're walking and walking and walking, and it's dark, and the snow's coming down, and it's sticking to me, and maybe I should have taken a heavier jacket, walking, walking, and then the snow gets this deep, and my tennis shoes are getting wet. Like, whoa, nobody told me about this. It wasn't in the brochure, So we're walking and walking, and it's dark, and we come up to a place where it's hard to see the trail, but it looks like the trail goes like this. And what should we do? And Alan looks at his map, and he says, I think we go left. And so we go left, and we're walking and walking and walking, and getting snow all over, and maybe I should have taken a hat, We're walking and walking and walking, and we come up. At a certain point, the trail is wherever there's a space in the bushes, because you have no idea where the trail is. So we're just following spaces in the bushes, and we come, and it looks like there's a split in the trail, and he says, well, I guess we better go left. I think we're left on that. We're right about here. We've been walking for a long time. So we go left, and we're walking and walking and walking. So anyway, the snow is right up to here by now. I mean, it's really snowing hard. And we've been walking out there for 2.5 hours, and we're not making much progress. And I'm really cold, and he's really cold. We decide we're going to go a bit further. One more time, we come up to a split on the trail, and, well, we go left. We're walking and walking and walking and walking and walking and walking and walking. And finally, Alan says, you know what? I don't know where this campground is. I don't know where the lookout is. I don't know anything. I just know I'm cold. Let's stop right here. And the flashlight that we had was really dim. The batteries were going. We couldn't see anything. So we said, yes, we're just going to stop right here. Well, he put up the tent because he knows how to do that. And we both had our sleeping bags, which were still dry, thank goodness. And my job was to go up to, there was a big pine tree. And my job was to go kick the pine tree and break the lower branches that were nice and dry. And I broke the branches off that tree. And then there was one next to it, and I broke them off. And some of them were as big as my arm, but they were all dead and dry. Pretty soon we had this big pile of wood. Now, in the mountains of California, you never, 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 never light a fire, because the mountains of California will burn. But we got all that snow on the ground, and we're feeling pretty confident. Besides, we're so far away, no one will ever see the smoke at night. We're good. We're okay. So we put the tent there, and we lit the fire. And he had he had a little cook stove. He had some white gas, and so he put that on the wood, and whoosh, and we began to warm up a little bit, and that felt good. And so we got in the tent, and we weren't wild guys at all. We were, 17 years old. We had our guides with us, and we're in the tent reading our guides, and then when we're done with our guides, we had our Sabbath books, and we stayed up until like 1 in the morning with our flashlights were getting so dim we couldn't see it all. Finally, we went to bed. But in the meantime, we keep putting wood on that fire, and a strange thing happened. The fire started sinking into the ground. Well, I thought that we had stamped down all the snow. I thought we had built it on the ground, but it just kept sinking and sinking, and it's like really weird. I told Alan, we must have built it on top of like a nest of twigs or something, because it's burning, but I don't know what's going on, but it's just sinking. So we just kept putting in more wood and more wood and more wood, and it sank. And finally, when we were getting ready to go to bed, put in all the rest of the wood, and here's this fire, So morning came kind of early. When you go to bed at 1 o'clock in the morning's pretty early, and I get up, and it's bright and sunny out there, and I can barely see. I got glasses, but they're all fogged over, so I can barely see anything. And I open up the tent, and I look outside, and I crawl to look at the edge of the fire to see if there's enough coals left for breakfast. And it's so strange. The fire is perfectly round. The hole that it made. And I can't see very well, and I'm looking, and then I realize that there's these grooves that are spiraling on the side of where the fire sunk into the ground. And I finally realized that's a metal corrugated pipe. About this big around. What is a metal corrugated pipe doing sideways in the ground, way out in the middle of the woods? And I look down there, and I look, and I focus, I rub my eyes, and then I see there's a bunch of brass valves down there. 6 of them. What are those doing out in the forest? Who would be so crazy as to put those way out in the forest? And then I look up, there's this huge propane tank. And I don't know what to say. I can't believe it. And I can't see very well without my glasses, but I know a propane tank when I see it. I look around and it says Ranger Station. You know what happens when you put fire and propane together, right? Boom! Every good children's story has a boom. So you know. Boom! That's what happens. Wow, we built a fire on top of the propane valves. Oh, I said, Alan, we better go. We gotta go. You wouldn't believe how fast we took down that tent and stuffed our packs, and we ran the 300 feet to our car. You know, even when you're a very foolish 17-year-old, God sends his angels to watch over you. And praise the Lord, because I'm here to preach to you today, because he watched over us. You can go back to your seats.
I invite you to take your Bibles and turn to the book of Acts. First chapter, verse 8. Acts 1, verse 8. But you shall receive power from the Holy Spirit when it has come upon you, and you shall be witnesses to me in Jerusalem, and in Judea, and in Samaria, and to the end of the earth. The Lord add his blessing this morning as Scott Christiansen brings us his word.
Thank you, Dan. Good morning.
Good morning.
Happy Sabbath. It is a tremendous pleasure to be here this morning, and especially since there's a man here who I greatly respect, your pastor. I think it's kind of neat that he's here. Because as someone who speaks really, really often, I know that you have to take a break and be fed. That dramatically increases the pressure on me, by the way. Because I know you don't get too many breaks and you have to make the most of it, and I'm kind of rewriting my whole sermon as I go on the fly here. So it's better as your pastor's here, but you folks know you have a really, really good pastor, one of the best in the conference?
Amen.
Okay, all right, just so long as you know that. We have some... Oh, that he was asleep during the sermon?
Yeah. The speaker asked the one who was asleep is to be first.
Well, you know how it is. After you're fed, you sleep. So I guess you can take that both ways. I guess it's a compliment. I'll try and say things. I'll try and keep him fact checking me so that he stays awake. There we go. That's good. I want to talk with you this morning about some serious things and some interesting things and some really big picture things. And I think it's best that we start with this. Let's bow our heads. Dear Father in heaven, thank you so much, Lord, for the fellowship. Thank you for the love in this room. Thank you for this sweet experience of being here this morning. Lord, please come into this church, into our hearts, into our minds. Please occupy us, Lord. Please, Lord, groom us, grow us, fit us for your work in your kingdom. In Jesus' name, amen. Well, okay. We live in interesting times. This is today, this is the first full week of the Trump administration. Now, this is not a political sermon. It is not a political sermon. We're not going to go there. But I'm going to talk about politics a little bit, both in the United States and elsewhere. We live in historic times. Whether you agree or not agree, and I'm certainly not going to discuss my position on it, whether you agree or disagree, senior advisors in the Trump administration are on record as saying, I want to tear down the international order. It's time for a new one. Okay. We live, though, at the end of one age and the beginning of another. That's the point I want to make. Whether you agree or whether you disagree, whether all the politics, oh, please just take those and throw them out the door. I'm so tired of all that. But we are living in a world that is changing. And we are, whether we like it or not, and whether it's by design or not. It can go a little faster if it's by design or not. But we are on a pathway where these things are happening whether we vote for them or not, whether we agree or not. And they're happening whether you're in the United States or not. Around the world, we're seeing governments come in that are angry and want dramatic change. Around the world, we're seeing governments come in, whether it's by vote or whether it's by force, that are altogether more aggressive than the ones that were there before. If you talk to security analysts, and I spend a lot of time on global affairs, and I spend a lot of time on trends. Right now, I'm working on a 13-series television program with the Adventist Review, talking about these things, and we're going to see if it happens or not. We'll know in the next month or so as they look at the budget. But the plan is to develop and film during this coming year. Actually, the development work is done. It's just film now. 13-program series talking about the accelerating decline of the natural earth. And if any of you here have read my book, Planet in Distress, it's like, oh yeah, okay, I know what he's talking about. Talking about the fulfillment of prophecy. Talking about the role of Christianity in these times. Talking about the Bible. And doing so on commercial television. They are targeting the National Geographic Channel. So they're being very intentional, and this kind of stuff just absolutely fascinates me. If it's the Lord's will, that program will get done, and it might not be the Lord's will yet. It might take another year or two for it to mature. It might not happen at all, but that's the really serious discussions that are underway. Anyway, so as I was saying, this stuff really fascinates me, and as I look at the world and as I listen to these security analysts talk, what they say is, we've never seen as many pots boiling around the world as we see now. And we see them ready to boil over. And what they mean by that is conflict. Conflict between people groups. Conflict between states. Conflict between people groups, tribes, ethnicities, the Jews against the Arabs, the Hutus against the Tutsis, that sort of thing, everywhere. And it's really interesting. I listen to them, and then I go back to Matthew 24, 6 through 8. Turn with me to Matthew 24. An amazing, amazing chapter. And in this chapter, the disciples come to Christ privately. This is a private conversation, and they say, Lord, tell us when you're going to come. Tell us when your kingdom comes, and tell us about the end of the age. And boy, does he. For 2 chapters, Matthew 24 and Matthew 25, they're all one discourse, and they're not meant, even though there's a chapter break, they're not meant to be taken separately, which is what we do too often because they're 2 different chapters. But between chapter 24 and 25, the only thing that happened was that Jesus took a breath. This is all part of the same thing that he's talking about here. And so you go to verse 6, you'll hear wars and rumors of wars. So you're going to hear of shooting wars, open conflict, but you're also going to hear of potential conflict. You know, these people are getting angry, these people are upset, there's this tension, and we see that all over the world. And we see it increasingly over resources. What's going on is absolutely fascinating. See that you are not troubled, for all these things must come to pass. We're going to come back to that thought. Why do these things have to happen? Why does this have to happen? All these things must come to pass, so we shouldn't be troubled. But the end is not yet. For nation will rise against nation. So, places that have physical territory and a flag will make war on places that have physical territory and a flag. State against state. And kingdom against kingdom. So in other words, there's going to be people group against people group. People that don't have territory necessarily, like the Turks and the Kurds, which is tremendous animosity going back a long ways. A kingdom against kingdom. People group against people group. And we're seeing these at the same time in some places. Like in the Middle East right now, you've got state against state, and you also have people group against people group. It's really complicated. We're seeing this a lot, but we're seeing the preliminaries even more. We're seeing the pots boil and get ready to boil over. We live in an interesting, historic, fascinating, and if you're really watching, terrifying point in history. And no matter who you elect president or don't elect president, there is no slowing this down. There is no stopping it. There is no, unless the Lord intends to hold back the winds by using someone, there is no changing this. So this is not a political sermon, because there are no political solutions to what the world faces, unless you have a politician who can reverse the effects of sin. You show me that politician. Other than that, it don't matter. But anyway, things can speed up. Now let's pull back and let's look at this from the big picture. The really big picture. How far back can I go? The really, really, really big picture. How did all this start? I'm asking. How did it start? You whispered it. Jealousy. Jealousy. That's one word we can use. But you're absolutely right. This goes back to heaven, doesn't it? This misery, this suffering, this travesty, this disaster started in heaven. And those are words that just don't belong together, do they? So there was this guy named Lucifer, and he was the fourth in the universe. In the universe, he was the fourth. You've got the Trinity, and then you've got Lucifer. And he was created in perfection. And he was the leader of he's incredibly talented with music, but also had a very high administrative post. I mean, he's number 4. He's right there. He was perfect in God's perfect kingdom right up until iniquity was found in him. The iniquity that was found in him is that he wanted to be above God. The Bible says that he wanted to ascend to the holy mountain of God. He wanted to be higher than God on that mountain. There's different ways it's put, but he wanted to be higher than God. And what happened was, as we read in Revelation, there was war in heaven. But that word war comes from the word polemos, which is the root word for polemics, which is the root word for politics. So I guess maybe this is a political sermon. It would have been a good sermon to have back in October when everyone was sick to death of politics, because we could have pointed to what was really going on. But anyway, what happened in heaven, the war, the contest, the conflict, this thing that happened was a contest of ideas more than it was a contest of physical strength. And you've got Satan, Lucifer, now Satan meaning the adversary, the enemy. You've got Satan who wants to be above God. Now, how do you do that? How do you be above God? The only way to try and be above God. Now remember, he's running a political campaign. He's going for votes. And he did spectacularly well. He got a third of the angels in heaven to vote for him. Wow. These intelligent beings. The only excuse you can make for them is that they'd never seen this before. They had no idea. Well, it'll never happen again. The only way you can be above God is to take him down. Notch after notch after notch. And that's what he started to do. He attacked the character of God. But here's the interesting thing. Here's the thing we have to remember. He didn't just attack the character of God. He also attacked the organizing principle for the operation of the universe. Think about that for a minute. We know that God created the world. We know that he was very happy with it. We are told in Genesis 1 that that when he finished, he said it was very good, right? He made each individual piece, each system really, our atmospheric system, our oceanic system. He created these layers one by one, a kind of a pyramid. Each thing came after the thing that was necessary before it. That was awkwardly phrased, but you know what I mean. He built this amazing, complicated earth, which he put all these systems together, but when he's all done, it's one elegantly balanced, amazing, absolutely astonished system. And it reflected God. We're told in Job that the morning stars sang, that is, the angels sang when they saw the created earth. They're like, wow, this is amazing. And so because of that, because of what we're told in Job, we know this reflected the character of God. And we're told in the Bible, what's the character of God? God is love. Okay, so a world that is created that reflects the character of God has animals that kill each other, right? A world that's created that reflects the character of God has sickness, disease, parasites, right? Okay, I agree with you. But if that isn't the way the world was created, then how did the world work? How did the world look? How does a world operate on a system of love? By the way, we're exploring one of the topics that we'll explore on this television series that I've been talking about. And I also made a 6-video series here in northern New England with the Adventist Review that is it's aimed at millennials, so of course it's online. But if you're interested in seeing it, they're short videos, 6 of them, but they're only 5 minutes long, which is about how long you can get the attention of a millennial. But anyway, if you want to see the whole series, it's a good sharing tool. Where was I? So what would the world look like? What would the world look like?
Where's that series?
I know. He looked so peaceful just moments ago. I really thought he had drifted off, and now he's here making trouble. Adventist Review TV, ARTV is what it's called, and it's tough to find on Google because there's a number of ARTVs, mostly dealing with art. So, but what you do is you put 3 words into you put 2 words into Google, which is ARTV, 1 word, and Adventist, and then up will come Adventist Review TV, television, blah, blah, blah. And then you go to their site, and you have to, unfortunately, you have to search further, and I apologize for that, but they have several hundred videos. And the name of the series is Earth is a Battlefield. So you just put Earth in their search bar, and away you go. The other way to do it is ARTV, is just in Google, ARTV, Earth is a Battlefield, and that'll take you straight there. You can go either way. And if you know someone who is an evolutionist, if you know someone who, who's open-minded and absolutely not a Christian or not an Adventist, if you know someone who thinks, this challenges them to think, and it's a good sharing tool for that narrow part of the population who sees things in terms of systems. It works with them. Praise the Lord. So, it's not really fair for me to ask you what the world would look like, because I've spent 15 years thinking about that and just have a few ideas, you know. But imagine this. If a world that looks like the character of God would be a world where everything gives to everything else, passes on a blessing. We have trees that give their seeds and leaves to the earth. And the worms and the birds and the animals love that. We have animals that help fertilize the tree. Imagine every relationship passes on a blessing, and nobody gives more than God. Everything gives. On earth, we've got these pyramids where you've got the weak and the poor at the bottom and the wealthy and the powerful at the top, and that's how our economy and our society and our military, I mean, that's how it's organized. That's human, that's sinful human thought. Turn that pyramid around and you've got the most powerful on the bottom giving to everything else. And blessings flow up. God gives, and He gives more than anything or anyone else. We can only see tatters and shreds of what had to have been the original system. I mean, either God created a perfect earth that reflected His character, or the Bible is not true when it describes God. I mean, really, those are the only two things you can... I've thought it through, and it's either one or the other. So what happened is that Satan was cast down to earth. He overcame man, Adam and Eve. He got their votes through cunning and deception, which, hey, it's a political battle, of course. Of course deception was used. I mean, come on. It's politics. Oh, it is a political sermon. I take it back. And when he conquered man, Satan took man's dominion. So here he's occupying earth. He's usurped our dominion. He has the power to put his system in place. And here's the thing. I got to go back because I left this out. Yes, Satan's taking God down notch by notch, but when you run a political campaign, you don't just say, I'm better than him, vote for me to run the universe. You have to say, I've got a better way. What was Satan's better way? Better way, his words. Okay? So in thinking this through, this is the logic structure that I've used. You can find some things in Spirit of Prophecy where you go, yeah, okay, that's yeah. It's nowhere it's said. This is explicitly said. So I'm sharing my thoughts with you. But I'm looking at it and I'm going, well, okay, you know, this is how messed up the earth is. And part of that is just plain old the results of sin and rebellion, because sin separates creation from creator. And we're told in the Bible that the result of sin is death. You separate creation from creator, and death begins. But part of it is also, I conclude, very, very intentional. Because you can go down 9,000 feet in the ocean, or you can go up 10,000 feet on a mountain, and you still see the same organizing principle at work among the plant and animal life on this planet. There is no place where life exists where it's different how things function So here's the thing. I look at this and I say, okay, God's organizing principle is love. Satan's organizing principle is selfishness. We live in a selfishness-based world. I call it the selfishness paradigm, and if I ever get finished writing it, it's the title of my next book. And it's just such a slow writer these days. But anyway, so think about that for a minute. We're living deep in enemy territory in a system based on selfishness. And the thing about selfishness is it collapses in on itself. It is the definition of unsustainability. It is fail from the moment it starts. And God was saying so. You read Spirit of Prophecy. God was counseling with Satan, no, don't go down this path. And Satan is saying something like, look, guys, he's holding you back. You can be greater. Like a muscle when you exercise, the only way to go greater than God is to work, is to struggle. You've got to struggle. You can't just take it easy. You can't just be one of his minions. You've got to break out, and you've got to fight and struggle. So here we've got a world based on selfishness where conflict and struggle and taking is the way the system is organized. An entire world that's organized that way that is absolutely bound to fail. That's what we're living in. Now the question is, to what degree are we telling people that there's another system? Because if you look in the Bible and you look at what Christ says about what our lives should be, and you lay that right next to the selfishness paradigm, you've got Christ laying out something that is extraordinary revolutionary. I mean, it's just absolute revolution compared to the way the world under Satan thinks. Absolutely revolutionary. And here's the thing. We're called to be his disciples. We are called to be, not just that, but witnesses. We are called to live under paradigm of love. We are called to show that that system exists to a world that operates under the selfishness paradigm. We are called to be givers in a world full of takers. That's really, really, really hard. And if you go to the Sermon on the Mount, which is basically the operating guidelines for living this way, then Jesus says, here's your expectations. You know, it's not going to be great. It's going to be difficult. Take a little while this afternoon and read the Sermon on the Mount, because he says this is what you're supposed to do. And by the way, it's not going to be. You're not going to have any great success or joy in this world. This is not your home. So here we are. Our situation is that we're soldiers. We're supposed to be in the Lord's army, trying to be his witnesses against an entire world that works against a different system. In the meantime, this different system is all around us, and the advertising is absolutely constant that we should be part of that. That we're not successful, and we're not accepted, and we're not cool, and we're weird if we're not part of that. The advertising is constant. And we have to, by the way, the only way to be a giver in a world full of takers is to have Christ give through us. That's the only way. That's the only way that anyone can stand up to this 24/7 onslaught that we have while living in occupied territory, while living in the middle of a war. Here's the question. How vigorously are we fighting back? How vigorously are we proclaiming Christ? Because it's not cool to do so. It's not accepted to do so. In a world that lives according to a selfishness paradigm, if you stand up and proclaim Christ, you're not going to get any positive affirmation for doing so. Or hardly any positive affirmation. It's really tough. And if you make an intentional effort to try and fight against that system and show people that there's another system and another way and another destiny, and great joy, it's only going to get harder for you. And yet, brothers and sisters, selfishness collapses in on itself, and we are in the last days of this terrible, terrible thing. This was an assault on the character of God, and God couldn't just destroy Satan because that charge is hanging in the air. And if he destroys Satan, that charge is still hanging in the air. And you've got the whole universe saying, oh, did you see what happened to him? Wow, I never saw God in this light before. Wow. Satan's saying, I've got a better way. That's got to play out. Go back to Matthew 24. Be ye not troubled. These things must happen. They got to happen. This collapse of this terrible, perverted, twisted system has to happen. It's difficult to witness. It is. The witnessing that works the best is witnessing that's based on a promise that the Word of God will not return to him void. Here in the conference, we've got, and we're too slowly, but we're slowly launching something called the Seeker Project. And this church, it's been months ago. It's probably 9 months ago, unfortunately, because technical glitches in the project. But anyway, some time ago, a number of members of this church sat down and gave 20-minute Bible studies in front of the camera. And next Sabbath, you're going to have those Bible studies. There's 17 of them. They're really good. They were written by Ty Gibson. They're very engaging, and each study points back to the character of Christ. It's all about love. It's really good. The purpose of these DVDs is to give them to you so that you can do the extraordinarily difficult thing of giving them to someone else. Actually, we're not going to give them to you. We're going to sell them to you because, where else will the money come from? But they're only $1 each. The idea is to hand out one of the series of DVDs for a month. And you might say, okay, I'm going to hand those out. I'm going to give me 5 a month. And I'm going to hand those out. I'm going to screw up my courage. I'm going to hand those out. And then the next month you hand out series number 2. The next month you hand out series number 3. This is an 18-month evangelism campaign that this church is embarking on. And it's going to be difficult. And you might go months without anyone saying, I love that. That changed my life. I didn't know that was in the Bible. That was such a cool perspective. I let it sit there for 2 months, and then finally I popped it in. I was going to throw them away, but something spoke to me. I popped it in. Absolutely amazing. You may never have that experience, actually. They may give it to a thrift store, and someone may go in a thrift store and buy it. And not buy it, or whatever. May get it. It may be removed. You may never get a positive experience, and you're unlikely to in the first place. But here's what we wanted to do. Have a Bible study that is introduced by your pastor, that is given by members of the church, filmed in the church, with a picture of the church on the DVD, so that people kind of draw it all together, and I know where that is, with Cliff's phone mail and email right on the front. And right in the study it says, if you got any questions at all, call our Pastor Cliff. He's great. Or write him. He's great. This is the lowest we know how to make the hurdle. It's hard to witness. Amen? It's scary to witness because we might be rejected by the world, but brothers and sisters, we know we're going to be rejected by the world because we're trying to tell them that this system is not sustainable, that this is horrible, that it's a fraud, that it's a mirage, that things are going to end very soon, and that there is a better way, that is a perfect way, and that Jesus came to model that way so that we could tell the difference. And through his death, our rebellion on a personal level was resolved. What Adam and Eve started, Christ finished. It just has to play out. So, what I'm going to do is, and I'm going to work this out with Cliff, there'll be 50 discs here next week that you don't have to pay for. And in fact, how many of you will hand out 5? Raise your hands. How many people have? Okay, there's going to be 100 discs here next week. And then but you don't have to pay for them. So take more than 5. And pray and say, Lord, who should I hand these out to? And then what we'll do is we'll sign people up. And for February, there will be however many discs you sign up for. And we'll work it out how you pay for those discs. But this is a chance to witness. This is a chance to engage in the battle. It was May of last year that I went on a bicycle ride that was a big deal for me anyway. It was a bicycle ride just during the month of May. I went with my 21-year-old son. We started in some place called Bay Center, Washington State, and we ended 3,580 miles later in Camden, Maine. And we averaged about 120 miles a day, 6 days a week. Sabbaths, we couldn't stand just sitting in a hotel room. Sabbaths, we would ride 40, 50, 60 miles. But when you're doing 120, that's nothing. We'd go slow. We wouldn't end up all sweaty and tired. Sabbaths were our nicest day. We loved Sabbath because we'd sleep in. And anyway, when I was getting ready for the ride, I was completely out of shape, and I didn't have my bike. I had ridden my bike quite a bit when I was young. Well, I'm not young, and it had been 35 years since I'd done any real riding. And I'd never done a ride like this. I'd wanted to my whole life, and I was beginning to get arthritis, and I said, you know what, I'm just going to do this. Just going to do this. And I was really stressing out because how do I know? I mean, it's May, we're going through Montana, and the weather, but I can only take so much weight. My bicycle ended up weighing 68 pounds. That's a lot going up the Rockies, and I mean, that's a lot of weight. And I have to take the right stuff. I have to take light stuff. I'm on a budget. My wife said, you can go, but you're going to go cheap, She actually gave me permission to go because she didn't think I was gonna. She didn't tell me that until after we were done, and she said she was very proud of me, but she said, you can never do this again because I didn't think, look at all the money you spent. Anyway. So I was really nervous because I didn't know what jacket to get. I didn't know what bike to get. I wasn't sure about so many things. How much nutrition, how much food do I need to be carrying? How much can I get on the way? You stop in these corner stores and you're out in the middle of Idaho and Montana and the rural Washington State, and I mean, you go a long ways. And so I sat down with a guy named Peter Wanamacher. How many people know Peter? A few. Great guy over in Maine, a little older than me, I think, and he's had several long bicycle rides, north to south. And the thing is, years and years and years ago, before he was married, he just bought a used bicycle in San Francisco, and he ended up in Florida, and he kind of one of these things. He's a free spirit. And I said, Peter, how do I get the weight down? How do I balance this? How do I have enough calories? He said, Scott. I said, just start pedaling. And I said, what? And he said, just start pedaling. You start by starting. And the more you ride, my training rides got up to the point where I was making 100-mile rides. And not day after day. That was so hard. That was really hard. But I'm making 100-mile rides, and suddenly I'm knowing how much food I need to have on hand in case there's nothing to eat on the way. And I'm understanding, this one blocks the wind real well, and I'm working so hard, I'm going to get really hot if I take more than this. The questions answered themselves. Just start pedaling. And brothers and sisters, here's my message to you. Time is very short. Souls hang in the balance. We have a job, a mission to do, and it's scary because the world is going to reject us. And how do we start? And my advice is to just start pedaling. get the disc in your hand, go to someone, and decide that anything less than them shooting you is success. Oh, they might frown at me. They might respect me less. They might. Yes, they might. Pray, take that disc, and say, this is a really amazing Bible study given in our church and introduced by our pastor, and it's on the subject of, and I thought you might be interested. This is cool stuff. And it's only 20 minutes. And then if they don't shoot you, and then you'll be alive to hand out the next one. You won't get a whole lot of affirmation from this world by working on behalf of Christ. But oh my, the affirmation that you'll get from the very few who stop and listen. We are so far along the path to where this world worships might and power and money. And you can see that in our political system. And you can see it in our economic system. And you can see it in our leisure system, our sports. You can see it in the natural world all around us. We are immersed in it. But brothers and sisters, we have to. We have to stand up for Christ. And that's our closing song. Stand up. Stand up. Join me. Number 618. Brothers and sisters, If you just start pedaling, you will find you get stronger and stronger, and you will find you go farther and further. And brothers and sisters, take it from me, there's nothing like crossing the finish line. Let's bow our heads. Dear Father in heaven, thank you, Lord, for such wonderful brothers and sisters. Thank you, Lord, for giving us the truth. Thank you, Lord, for giving us opportunity. Now, Lord, we pray that you give us courage. Lord, this is not a friendly, welcoming world when we try and go against it. It's a tough thing to do. Lord, live in us. Dwell with us this week. Show us, Lord, who we should reach out to. Give us courage, Lord, to keep doing it and keep working for you. And Lord, strengthen us on our journey, that one day we may hear from you, well done, good and faithful servant. In Jesus' name, amen.
Once again, I want to thank you for coming and worshiping with us through the media, and we're glad that you were able to enjoy this particular service. But we're hoping one day will come when soon you'll be able to come right to our facility. We're here at 241 Province Street in Laconia, and our services are on Saturday mornings at 11 o'clock for the worship service, 9:30 if you want to come earlier for the Bible study. You're always welcome. We'd love to have you come. And there's a special thing that happens on the second Saturday of every month. That's our fellowship meal. And we'd love for you to be able to be with us and to stay afterwards and enjoy the lunch with us. Now, you may also be inspired to want to study the Bible some more. And we do have different Bible study aids. We can provide something for you to study through the mail, or we can come to your home, or we can arrange a small group study here at the church. So be in contact with us, and we will be able to set up something that will meet your needs as best we can. Thank you again, and we look forward to meeting you. God bless you in every way.